In this video from D for Therapy, we will talk about anxiety disorders. We will go over different anxiety disorders like separation anxiety, social anxiety, specific phobia, agoraphobia, panic disorder, and generalized anxiety. I've tried to classify all these disorders into different categories. So we will talk about all these disorders in the category of what is the focus of anxiety, what are the major themes of the fear, what usually is the thought and cognition, what kind of avoidant behavior and or physical symptoms a person shows, and then what are the time and the duration that the person is experiencing the symptom before you can give them a diagnosis for a certain disorder. So this one is a chart that I made of all these different categories and how each disorder probably fits into these categories. When we are done going through all these disorders, this chart will make more sense, and then you can make a screenshot of it or kind of use this as like a cheat sheet to understand how different anxiety disorders are distinguished. Let's start with separation anxiety. Here, the focus of anxiety is losing a loved one or being alone. A major theme of fear here usually is that there is a fear of separation from who the person is attached to. Their thoughts and cognition is that they get excessively worried when they anticipate separation. So if like the attachment figure is going to go to work, or if they're going to go to a trip, there is a excessive amount of worry. They worry about losing this attachment figure. They worry about something bad happening to either them or the attachment figure, and then that would mean that they are separated from the attachment figure. The behavior that it transpires to is that it would look like they don't want to go to school, they want to go to work. If it's a kid, they don't want to like go sleep over at their friend's house, they want to stay with their attachment figure. They don't want to be alone. They're very reluctant to be alone. There's repeated complaint of physical symptoms like headaches or stomach aches or something like that. And then there is nightmares that involves that theme of separation. So like you see, there's a through line, like everything is themed around, oh, my attachment figure is gonna go away, something bad's gonna happen, I'm gonna lose them, then I'm gonna end up being alone. The time usually for kids and adolescents is 4 weeks or a month, and 6 months for adults. The next one that we're going to talk about is social anxiety. So again, the focus of anxiety here is that other people or social situation. That's where the anxiety is residing, right? Other people and social situation. The major theme here is that there is a possibility of scrutiny, that I will be scrutinized, I will be observed. The way I eat or drink will be observed and scrutinized. Their thoughts and cognition usually say that I will embarrass myself. There is a fear that their anxiety symptoms are showing, right? They are showing their anxiety symptoms and they'll get negatively evaluated for being so anxious. And they almost always are fearful when in social settings. Their behavior usually will be to avoid social setting, or if they endure it, it is with a lot of fear or anxiety. And the fear or anxiety is of course out of proportion, right? So this is kind of to distinguish between from someone who is a little socially awkward or shy in social situation from having this kind of unrealistic like fear of being observed and scrutinized and embarrassing themselves, and hence avoiding social situations altogether. And the time and duration is 6 months or more. Now let's talk about specific phobias. So here the focus of anxiety is the object or situation that the person is phobic to. Right? So it can be animals, it can be airplanes, elevator, blood, injection. Like there is some situation or object that the person is just extremely scared of. Their major theme is that I will be endangered or seriously harmed by this object. Right? My life is in danger around this situation or object. Their thought usually is that the object will almost always create this kind of extreme fear and anxiety. Their behavior is that they will avoid the object, and if they are enduring it, it will be with extreme fear. And then the time and duration is 6 months. So hopefully by now you can see a pattern of how these classifications kind of help you distinguish one disorder from the other. Now let's talk about agoraphobia. So here the focus of anxiety is public transportation, open spaces like a big parking lot or a fairground or like a sporting arena, very enclosed spaces like a tiny like deli or a dollar store or something like that, standing in lines or crowds, or going outside of the home. There's usually a misconception that agoraphobia is kind of revolves around not being able to leave the house, but that is not true. And here how it can be confused with social anxiety is that the avoidance behavior would be like, I don't want to leave my house. So then is it because you are afraid that you'll be scrutinized in the public, or you're afraid that the further you go away from your home, you're going to be in danger? Right? So the major theme here is that I will not be able to escape danger if something bad happens. So that's usually the theme. In social anxiety, the major theme that we talked about is that when I go outside, people are going to look at me and they're going to scrutinize me, right? They're going to see like my negative traits or something like that. So the avoidance behavior is kind of similar, that they will avoid going out, or they'll avoid public transport, they'll avoid open spaces, they'll avoid being in line. However, the theme, the focus here would be different. The theme, a major theme of why they are avoiding would be different for both these disorders. If they endure it, it is with a lot of fear. Their thought usually is that escape might be difficult. Like, I will get stuck in this and escape might be difficult, which is quite different from how social anxiety look like, that I will embarrass myself. And then the time and duration is 6 months or more. If you're liking what you're seeing so far, please consider subscribing to this channel. Your subscription really encourages me to keep making more videos like this. Let's jump into panic disorder. Here, the focus of anxiety is a panic attack, right? I am going to get a panic attack. The major theme is I will have another panic attack. The thought and the cognition is the persistent concern that you will have more panic attacks, right? Or their consequences. So usually the person just like had a panic attack, it was so uncomfortable, had one or two, it was so uncomfortable that they're just like the thought of even getting a third one or a fourth one is just like extremely like distressful. So that's the major focus here, that I will get another panic attack. And then of course they will avoid something, they will kind of change, they will have a maladaptive behavioral change. So maybe they'll try to avoid going to the grocery store that where they got the panic attack, or they're really worried that if I'm driving and if I get this panic attack, what am I going to do, right? So there's going to be this maladaptive change in their daily functioning, which kind of makes it a panic disorder. And then the time or duration is 1 month or more for someone to be able to be given this diagnosis. Now, the last one that we're going to talk about is generalized anxiety disorder. Here, the focus of anxiety is everything, anything and everything. So their major theme is that something bad is going to happen. So they worry, right? So the word worry comes up a lot, right? I worry this is going to happen. I worry this is not going to happen, right? Their thoughts and cognition are, they feel very restless and they feel keyed up, like on the edge all the time. They have a problem, difficulty concentrating, their mind goes blank, they get irritable very easily. Something to look for with someone in generalized anxiety disorder is that they find being anxious to be something that they need to do in case something bad doesn't happen, right? If I don't worry about this, then something bad is going to happen, right? So that's kind of usually how they feel. I can't stop worrying about it. I need to worry about this. Something like that's usually the cognition. Usually the physical symptoms that these people go through are being very easily fatigued, they have muscle tension, they have sleep disturbances. Some people usually complain about like headaches or some sort of like body jitters or something like that. The time and the duration is 6 months or more. So again, here is this chart that has divided all these separate disorders with the different categories that we talked about. This kind of helps you determine and distinguish one disorder from other. So usually the thought and the cognition, the avoidant behavior, and the time and the duration are so similar that it kind of sometimes becomes really difficult to know, like, what is the major theme of this anxiety? How do I separate agoraphobia from separation anxiety from anxiety disorder? Because my vignette kind of like tells me these same like behaviors or time duration and stuff like that. So in my personal experience, it is easier when you're talking to a client in real life. You can talk to them and determine the differences. But when it comes to like a vignette situation, it becomes very hard to discern which one is the correct diagnosis. So in that case, this chart can be your cheat sheet to kind of see what is the focus of anxiety and what is the major theme, which will be your major distinguisher of one anxiety diagnosis over the other. Hope this video was helpful, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.